and welcome to Arrow McLaren's Sky Indycar. And on the latest episode, we're catching up with Alexander Rossi again. And before we came on air, mate, we were talking about football and your exploits at school. Did you ever play American football?
Yes, we played the game. I think there was a playbook. I don't think anyone knew any of the plays. I think you just hiked the ball and ran around. So it was pee-wee football, which I believe was like 4th or 5th grade. So yes, very limited.
Was that your strongest
experience.
asset at school, or did you play baseball?
Nope.
No. Good job. You can drive a car quickly then.
Thank goodness, right? Yeah.
Right, you're back home in Indianapolis. Obviously, 3rd round at the IMS Speedway last time out. What's it like to race? Do you get to stay at home? Is it nice coming back?
It is nice to be able to sleep in your own bed. I would give that up to not race at the Indy Road Course as much as we do. But that's the same for everyone. Actually, I was talking to Felix about this going into the weekend. He rents a hotel because he feels like it's actually better for his mindset to like be more as if he's traveling on a race weekend versus being at home and like having to deal with the laundry and doing your dishes and that sort of thing. So to each their own. But yes, I enjoy racing in Indy, a couple miles down the road.
Yeah, so he likes the intensity and the routine. Racing drivers or athletes, they love routine. Do you have a routine, or do you just, get up and suck it and see?
Just get up and see where the day takes us, man. That's what we got to do.
You don't have like weird different shoes, different gloves, or get in the car from the same side or any of that?
Maybe I should start. Maybe that's where I'm going wrong. Maybe I should start having superstitions. But no, I don't. I just try and, I guess I eat the same thing every kind of race weekend. So that's probably a constant in terms of like the pre-race hydration. That's all the same. So from a nutrition and training standpoint, yeah, it's all, a routine and there's a baseline. But from just like day-to-day stuff, no, I don't really care.
You're still eating lots of sushi. Our favorite sushi restaurant closed down.
Yo Sushi. They're gone.
No, not Mackie. Do you remember? And Bobby.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Really?
Yeah. COVID
That's a shame.
it.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
That'll happen.
You moving to America ruined it. Right. Let's talk Indianapolis. You off the back of 3 difficult weekends, result-wise, Iowa and Nashville. I know Nashville, you had a good car and, you had that issue with VK and then touched the wall. The big tick for Indianapolis was qualifying. When you finished qualifying, 3rd place, really good fast 6. You had a real spring in your step.
Yeah, 100%. I think there was a lot of things going into the weekend. Nashville, there was a lot of underlying positives that we on the 7 car had found. There was no result to show for it, but we left there feeling, pretty relieved because, as you said, Toronto, Iowa, even Mid-Ohio were challenging. But there was still this kind of monster in the closet, right? In the sense that we were really struggling to find the pace in qualifying. But there was always reasons for it. And I think that as a new group coming back to a place that we were at already this year, for us, yes, even though it's my 8th year in the championship, it's a completely different kind of process and approach to how Arrow McLaren, prepares and sets up race cars from what I'm used to. So we as a group have been seeing it for the first time all up until this past weekend in Indianapolis. And it was an opportunity for us to, okay, we learned these things. Can we execute the second time around? So that was rewarding to be able to do that. As you said, it was our best road and street course qualifying result of the year. And I feel like that was a big relief for everyone. It gave everyone the confidence that, we know how to do this, we can do this. And for the future, it bodes really well.
And of course, the next race is an oval. So can you bring some of those lessons, what you've learned there from the road and street courses into oval qualifying?
No, but that is what it is. I think certainly St. Louis, we're gonna have our work cut out for us. There was a split camp at the team last year. Pato was really strong. Felix was not. So, there's been some trying to understand why, there was such a difference between the cars, and the driver's happiness. Because quite frankly, Felix on an oval in qualifying is one of the strongest guys out there. So we are going into it, with an idea. I think it's also going to be a bit of a wild card weekend because we've got alternate tires for the first time ever on an oval. So everyone's going to be experiencing that for the first time. So we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. But ultimately, I think that we found some direction, and that'll certainly help us in Portland and Laguna.
Whilst we're talking about Gateway, we'll go back to Indianapolis, but is there a bit of a hangover from Iowa where you saw Pato go well there and you and Felix then in that same spot that you've sort of just described with Gateway last year?
I not really. So Iowa for me, day one was pretty good. Day two was going to be decent as well, but we had an issue on a tire situation on the last stop, which kind of dropped us out of the top 10. But still, that was my best Iowa that I've really had in my IndyCar career. So that's not saying much, but like it was still not terrible. So I think that, as much as we were disappointed as a team to not be as strong at Iowa as we had thought going in, short ovals and ovals are still kind of the strong suit of this organization. And so we're going into Gateway with certainly a desire to redeem ourselves from what we feel like was kind of a missed opportunity on a doubleheader weekend in Iowa.
Right. Going back to IMS, the alternate tire, I heard that was a primary from another weekend, right?
Well, from 2019. Yes.
Right. And that caught a few people out. Going into the race, did you think it was going to be a red race? Was everyone, this is a red race? Or not many people had done many laps on that tire?
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird kind of situation. Like, we change tire compounds and constructions very often, very frequently. And I don't know that we really understand why we do that. Like, we don't ask for that change. We kind of just get told, and everyone has to do
love that, right?
Yeah. No, it's great. It's great. So in qualifying, we were actually really strong on the primary. You do your banker laps in qualifying on the harder tire, and we had quite a performance advantage. So there was a period of time prior to the final practice where we actually thought we were going to kind of take a page out of Pelot's book from May and kind of run the primary tire as our preferred tire. We then did warm up, and because the alternate started its life as a prime, the deg on it was virtually nothing. So then it became very clear that, yes, that's the tire you're going to want to be on. So yes, we knew it was going to be a red race. I don't think anyone realized how bad in comparison the primary was going to be. Indy road course has always been a red race. This is nothing new, but if you were really in the window and the balance was slightly, you were more comfortable with the balance on the primes, you could go just as fast and be just as competitive. That was not the case, except for I must say Graham. Graham was able to have.
I was about to say that he was when we were watching it. And I said on the commentary, I was like, he's rewriting the rule here because his delta between the two tires was minimal. Yeah.
So I feel, quite frankly, I feel really bad for him. Like, he did everything right to win that race, and Scott Dixon does Scott Dixon stuff. But yes, anyways, the prime tire was not good for us. And then it became very clear that we wanted to use all of our used reds that we could in the race.
And then after the race, you said you couldn't flex your muscles in the first stint. That was your preferred tire. I think you're on sticker alternates, weren't you? What do you mean?
Yeah, that was a real shame. So we started the race with our best available tire, which was a brand new set of the alternates. And you do that for a couple of reasons. One, you do it to ensure that you can maintain, track position that you work so hard in qualifying for. And then two, you do it because you want to build as big of a gap as possible against everyone that starts on the primes. Yes, there's usually a caution in the beginning of a race with race starts and everything, but at Indy GP, it's lots of runoff. Very rarely are cars touching the wall. So historically, the yellows have been very short. So even if there's a yellow, you're still going to have a full stint to really go hard and open up the gap. For whatever reason, this yellow was 8 laps, which
why was that? Because I always get asked by people tweeting in, they're like, why is this yellow 8 laps? And actually, I don't know. Like, was it to open the pits, let people pit? I don't know.
I don't know. Because like everyone had pitted and packed up and we were still yellow for several laps. So I don't know why that happened. And it did two things. It disadvantaged the guys that started on the reds, because the guys that started on the primary tires, they could just tick off laps, under caution, and they weren't losing any gap to us. And it also benefited guys like Scott, who, pitted at the end of that yellow and could do it kind of on 2 more stops. So, hey, it's IndyCar racing. It is what it is. Ultimately, we were probably a 3rd place car, 4th place car. So it didn't cost us a whole lot. We weren't going to win the race. But yeah, it was a little, I was frustrated during that yellow and how long it took.
And you worked quite well with Pato. There was sort of that, he didn't make it hard for you to pass. Was that something you talked about before the race? And again, you were on different strategies when he came through later on in the race. You didn't make it hard for him either.
Yeah, I mean, for us, obviously, teammates you're always looking out for, but especially when you're on different programs. Like, there's no point for me to defend with my life when he's on the preferred tire, the softer tire, and it's a teammate, right? You're just going to hurt yourself and hurt the overall chances of the group. And it was vice versa. So, had we both been on the same strategy, for sure, you're going to fight a little bit harder to maintain your position. But at that point in the race, there was no point.
And you were fighting the 2 Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan cars. Was there any moment in the race that you thought you were fighting Scott Dixon?
No. So I looked up at one point on the scoring pylon with like 10 to go, expecting me to be in 4th, because those were the cars I could see in front of me, and I was 5th, and I was like, how the hell is this possible? And I just assumed that eventually he was going to have to pit, and he never did. So yeah, it was pretty wild, but I think obviously that worked out for him, but I think for sure throughout the whole weekend, the Rahal cars and us were the strongest cars, the 4 of us, me, Christian, Pato, and Graham. And that was nice to be representing, the team and Chevy in that way.
So you got 3 races now in 3 weeks. It's going to come pretty fast and furious. What are the challenges around that for you as a driver and also Arrow McLaren as a team?
It's probably, honestly, it's harder on the guys. It's harder on the men and women that work on the cars, just because their travel schedule and they're in the heat and just everything that they have to do and turning around cars from ovals to road courses and whatnot. So certainly very appreciative of their efforts over this time period. And for the drivers, really, it's not a big deal, especially because once you're done with Gateway, it's 2 road courses. It's not like you're going to a super speedway or a street course or anything. It's kind of the same philosophies and mindsets going into that. The 2 big kind of question marks, as I mentioned before, is the alternate tires at Gateway, and then Laguna was completely repaved. So we actually have a test day there before practice starts to kind of see what that's like now.
I think the superbikes were like 3 seconds a lap quicker, weren't they, or something?
Well, so Felix and Pilot did a tire test there, and it was every bit of 3 plus some, and nothing was really optimized. So it's gonna be cool to drive. I don't really know how it'll race. That race was always pretty exciting because the tire deg was so much, and it was really easy to make a mistake. Now with no tire deg and a more forgiving racetrack, what's that going to mean? But
could we see what we saw at Road America, where there was 1 line?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Are you flying to these races? So you're just watching Sky IndyCar's debrief. You will not know that Alex flies himself, qualified pilot, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm not flying to the West Coast. That would be very boring and take far too much time. But yes, I'll fly to St. Louis. Yeah.
What rating have you got? Have you got to an engine rating or not?
No, so I'm instrument, and I'm working on my commercial rating right now. Yeah, so
that's cool. All right then. Well, listen. One last question. the 2 tyre compounds at Gateway. What
Hmm.
can we expect there? Is it a big unknown?
It is everyone's best guess. I don't even really know what the rules are for it. Like, I don't know that anyone really has a complete understanding of what's going on. Like, are we qualifying on them? Do you have to declare like you usually would? Do you, like, are they actually faster? Like, no, no one really knows anything.
Excellent. I won't
Yeah.
feel too bad in the commentary box then
Cool.
when I'm
Awesome.
scratching my head.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, no one's got any answers. Well, listen, Alexander, you've been a great guest as always. Love talking to you. If you're watching on Sky Sports F1, you can watch all of the Gateway weekend. That's coming up live on the 27th of August. Then we'll go to Portland and Laguna for the final 2 rounds of the season.